I hate to say I told you so. The other day we heard that northern Italy was being locked down because the coronavirus was spreading. It's going to get worse. It keeps getting worse. And everyone is telling you it will be, outside of all of the weird media people with their optimism bias saying, oh no, this can never happen. We have experts warning. We have the military taking action. We have governments freaking out, quarantines across the board. Southern Italy is now being locked down. And I hate to say I told you so. Not about the spread of the disease, but about what you're seeing on your screen right now. For those that are listening, let me describe it. It's an image of a supermarket in Italy, in the Lombardy region, with most of the shelves empty. Not everything in the store. We are not at the point where the stores are completely run dry of food and supplies. But I said several times, don't let anyone shame you into not taking care of yourselves. It's possible. The people who bought all these goods will never need them. But as the quarantines keep expanding, the people who have food are likely going to fare better, or at least be much more comfortable when they have a wide array of food to choose from. Apparently, from the picture, you can see they're not picking a lot of this pasta. I don't know why. Pasta is food. You might want to eat it, but perhaps because you need water to make it. So maybe they're grabbing other goods. We can also see on one side, some of the shelves are still fully stocked, but I'm not entirely sure what it could be. It might be, condiments and sugar and stuff. The point is, the coronavirus keeps getting worse. And we have some really freaky stories to go over. The Iranian minister, apparently, this is crazy, comes down with coronavirus at the press conference, sweating profusely, gets tested. Turns out he had the coronavirus. They're saying right now that the mortality rate for reported cases is around 2%. So I'll try and break this down. Of reported and closed cases, we've seen around 10% die. Of reported cases, however, 80% have mild symptoms and many don't even know they have it, which means there could be tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people who are or have been infected who don't even know they have the disease or the virus. However, around 20% go into critical condition. And then of those people, the mortality rate can be fairly high. So it's hard to know exactly what metric to use. Suffice it to say, a 2% mortality rate is much higher than the flu. It is spreading. The quarantines are expanding. If you have not taken care to prepare for something that is the worst case scenario, then don't be surprised when you come into the store and you see the shelves are stripped bare. You should have gone out last week. If you haven't done it, go now while things are still calm, because the absolute worst case, I gotta rephrase this better. In the best case scenario, that I'm wrong and everything gets along just fine, and this doesn't actually reach the States or wherever you may be, maybe you're in the UK or Canada, then you'll have some food to eat. Get some canned food, some jerky, some food that can last you a couple of weeks, some water. And then when everything blows over, congratulations, you have food. Last I checked, humans need food anyway, so go pick it up now before it's all gone. Don't rush. Don't panic. Don't knock people over to steal the last bottle of Lipton iced tea. Calm down. We're okay here in the States for the time being. Just make sure you've got a full stock. Make sure you've got some extra water. Because every day I see more and more stories of this getting absolutely worse. And they tried downplaying it before. The media is trying to act like nothing's going to happen. Oh, the flu is worse. Calm down. And now the coronavirus. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've been blind. I don't know. But when SARS happened, we did not see this. We did not see quarantines, border closings. This is full-on freak-out mode. And I often wonder, when it comes to military and national security, they have confidential, top secret, etc. What classified information are they not telling us about? And I would also say, as I said before, they definitely don't want you to panic. And they know that if they come out and say this is going to be the worst thing we've ever seen, then people will freak out and go, just run in the banks or take all the supplies from stores and just panic mode. And that's bad for the economy. So we're already seeing economic slowdown. We're seeing stocks go down. Take it seriously. Let's read this story. And then we'll talk about some of the other stories, like how crazy is it? Let me show you this one first. Iran's Deputy Health Minister comes down with coronavirus at the press conference to reassure nation that the country's death toll was lower than feared. This guy, look at this clip. He starts sweating profusely, later gets tested. Sure enough, he's got the coronavirus. That is one of that's a scene out of a movie, man. Like, I've seen movies about, pandemics, and the guy is like trying to assure people everything's going to be fine, and he starts coughing and they're like, oh, he's got it. And everyone screams and runs. Like, this is nuts. I didn't expect anything like this to happen in real life. You got to make sure you don't have an optimism bias. That means people think it can never happen to me. Everything's going to be fine. Be smart about it. I showed you the photo. These stores are getting stripped bare. Daily Mail reports Italy has confirmed its first case of coronavirus in the south after a holiday maker from the north fell sick while visiting Sicily with her husband and friends. The 66-year-old woman from Bergamo traveled to the Sicilian capital of Palermo on Friday morning before her home region of Lombardy was put on lockdown following a surge in cases. But she began showing flu-like symptoms around 2:30 p.m. Monday and was quarantined to her room at the Mercure Hotel in the city center before being taken to hospital after a test came back positive. As we know, people can transmit this while they are asymptomatic. And it would seem that this may already be too late. Your lockdowns are happening too late. I'm not going to tell you to lock your doors and seal the vents or anything like crazy like that. But if you are responding only after they say, oh, someone in your area is sick, that's after the incubation period when it's probably already spread to hundreds, maybe thousands of people. So take it seriously before it comes to you, right? Now, look, especially if it's in your country, okay? Or look, Italy is relatively small compared to the entirety of the United States, but it was in the north. They know it's there. They know they're locking down. They know it's spreading fast. Take it seriously in the south. Now it may be too late. Mayor Leo Luca Orlando said the hotel remains open, but the woman's room has been secured. Another 29 people who arrived with her from Bergamo have been quarantined in their rooms, while 20 staff are also on lockdown. Authorities are in the process of tracking down airline passengers and other people she came into contact with during her visit, he told Palermo today. Her husband is also suspected of having the disease. News the infection has spread south sparked panic buying in Palermo on Tuesday as shoppers stripped supermarket shelves bare and raided pharmacies for medical supplies. Italy confirmed a total of 59 new cases of coronavirus across the country on Tuesday, bringing the total to 288 with 7 deaths and 1 person recovered. The total is the largest outside of Asia. The Italian outbreak also jumped the border into Austria and Croatia, which reported their first cases in travelers from Italy. Barcelona also reported a case in a traveler from Italy, while Switzerland confirmed its first case. And if they know, that means it's already spread or very likely to have already spread. Let me tell you a story. I was in Los Angeles when the Fukushima Daiichi reactor plant tsunami disaster happened. And immediately there was panic among people I knew who were tech savvy. They said, what would happen after this plant goes off? Is there going to be radiation coming from the West to us, from Japan to California, maybe through the water, maybe through the air? And what do you do to protect yourself from radioactive particles? Well, you take potassium iodide. The way it's supposed to work, is my understanding, could be wrong, is that when I think it's iodine 131, a radioactive particle from these plants is in the air, it gets in your food, it gets in your body, you ingest it, your body puts that iodine in your thyroid. If you take an iodine supplement, your body maxes out on how much iodine it needs and it will reject the radioactive particles. So everybody almost immediately raided every store in, as far as I can tell, LA, and bought up every last bit of potassium iodide. We went out almost immediately and we're like, we'll grab some. Why not? Just in case. It was gone. And that was because the disaster had happened. Right now, this is a slow motion catastrophe happening before us. It's not the worst thing to ever hit humanity in terms of a virus or a disease, but it's substantive enough that governments are freaking out and desperately trying to slow this down and failing to do so. That says to me that you've got a good enough amount of time right now to go take care of things before it gets really, really bad. Right now, you can drive up to your little Walmart. You can walk in with a smile on your face, take a look at that sweet organic, broccoli stalk and say, you know what, we're going to have some organic broccoli tonight. And you can walk over to your specialty vegan ranch dressing, take that and say, we're going to eat healthy tonight. But if it gets bad, like it is in these supermarkets, you will end up walking into a supermarket with bare shelves and some dry pasta. And you say, tonight, we're going to be chewing on hard, dry pasta because we can't spare the water. So take it seriously now. These photos are crazy, but I can't say I'm surprised. Supply chains are going to be disrupted. China's already slowing down production of a lot of things, right? Antibiotics and medicines come from China. Rare earths, for instance. Apple saying they're not going to meet the demand for the iPhone because of the factory shutdowns. The factory is being shut down. This is going to spread. Things will slow down because of this. Again, not saying the apocalypse. I'm just saying it's going to be a rough month. So I hope you're all taking this seriously. Take a look at these photos. It's really amazing. Everybody wearing masks. Apparently, the N95 masks you need are no longer available in many places. We can see this right here. People stock up on essentials and coronavirus outbreak in Milan. Stores are being stripped, man. Here we have a map of Italy where we can see, in the more southern parts, you can see they're not reporting anything. But I'll tell you what, if we know of these cases because people are visibly sick and being tested for it, it's very likely the entire country and everything around it. Croatia's now got one case. There's probably dozens to hundreds already infected. Swiss authorities did not immediately say where the case had come from, but public broadcasters said it occurred in the Italian-speaking region of Ticino, close to the Lombardy region of Italy. Austria's health authorities said 2 Italian citizens who were likely infected in Lombardy had tested positive in the province of Tyrol, while Croatia said a young man contracted the virus after visiting Milan. Authorities in Barcelona said a patient tested positive for the virus after visiting northern Italy in the last few days. In total, 20 Italian provinces have now reported cases, with most being concentrated in the Lombardy and Veneto regions in the north. But the regions of Liguria, Emilia Romagna, Tuscany, Trentino Alta Adige, Sicily, and Lazio, where Rome is located, have also confirmed a limited number of cases. Of the 288 cases, health authorities have confirmed that 109 people are in the hospital. We say the hospital in the United States, and showing symptoms. 29 are in intensive care, and 137 have been told to isolate themselves at home. Italian authorities are still trying to figure out how they went from a few isolated cases of the virus to one of the worst affected countries in the world in just a few days, and there it is. That's what's going to happen. I hope it doesn't. I hope I'm wrong, but I will err on the side of caution. Italian authorities are still trying to figure out how they went from a few isolated cases of the virus to one of the worst affected countries in the world in just a few days. That bears repeating, and I hope you listened to what I just said. They had only a few cases and said it's not a big deal, we'll quarantine. And now they have more deaths than any other country outside of Europe. Again, we're talking about in the hundreds of cases so far. China, though, tens of thousands. And that's when it gets out of control. Remember when it was only like 14 cases back in, the end of December, beginning of January, and now it's nearly 80,000? It's moving decently fast enough, and we can't track it. Health officials have yet to identify patient 0 for the current outbreak. And without knowing where the infection started, it is difficult to know how and why it spread so fast. The supplies ran low in affected regions. 2 prosecutors opened an investigation into price gouging amid reports that face masks were selling online for 10 euros each, while bottles of hand sanitizer had rocketed overnight from 7 euros to 39. Meanwhile, Italy's Deputy Economic Minister Laura Castelli warned that the country may need help meeting its EU budget commitments as its economy teeters on the brink of recession. Even before it was hit by a coronavirus outbreak, the Italian economy registered a contraction of 0.3% in the last quarter of 2019. On Monday, the stock market plunged more than 5% as the FTSE MIB recorded its largest single-day fall since 2016. The sell-off continued Tuesday morning, wiping out another 1% of market value. The market recouped most of those losses in the afternoon, but was still trending down by a fraction of a percent. I'll tell you what, man, when it comes to trading, I'm no trading expert, so take my advice. Don't take my advice. Me personally, I would not sell. I would not panic sell. And if anything, I'd buy, because we're going to get through this. We're humans. We've survived much, much worse. And while I am saying it is serious, take care of it, we're not looking at the apocalypse. I hope, because when the news first came out, I said, the flu is worse. Everybody calm down. I'm really worried that maybe in a month I'm going to be sitting here drenched in sweat, shaking, being like, it's happening. The end is here. Like, lock your doors. The infected are outside. And then it's like phase 2 of the virus hits and people become like drone like zombies. I don't think it's actually going to get that bad. But it is an airborne, to an extent, contagion. It's spread mostly through respiratory fluids in the air. So you can catch it if it gets in your eye, if you breathe it in. So here we can see what's going on in Europe. There are many cases in Europe, but it doesn't seem that bad so far. And I really want to point out, if you've got 60 plus million people in France and 12 cases, it's not that much. The issue is how fast it spread in China. Don't let people try and tell you it's stupid, ignore it. I tweeted about this and I said, if this really does become what the World Health Organization calls disease X, which wipes out 80 million people, A lot of Americans are going to be damn glad that Trump built that wall. And it was really funny because then some people who are apparently really stupid were like, Tim thinks a wall can stop a virus. Yeah, because they're closing borders. Don't you get it? They want to restrict the flow of travelers who could be carrying the diseases. And if 1 million plus people came through our southern border last year alone, and even one of them had an infection, and we don't know about it, congratulations, pandemic. That's what they're talking about in Italy. So while the wall is not a perfect solution for stopping the spread of a disease, people will be happy there's at least some border security, right? Now, I think it's also funny when people are like, look at Tim getting red pilled. I never said the wall was a good idea on its face value, what Trump was proposing. But when it comes to border security in a global pandemic, which I've never experienced, then yeah, it certainly will help a little bit, especially when you can see how other countries are reacting, locking down their borders. If you can't lock down your border, you can't track who might be sick, and someone panicked and with the coronavirus in critical condition might rush into California knowing they're offering up free healthcare for people under 26. You get a 23-year-old guy who gets really sick and gets scared and says, the only option I have is to go to California. He illegally enters the country because there's lax security. He then gets the healthcare, infects dozens, hundreds more people, and boom, now it's bad. We need borders to track these things. We need people to come in an orderly fashion to track these things. Is it perfect? No. Is it the best possible solution? Of course not. It might only provide an extra, additional 1% security across the board by having the wall, but people are going to be glad. Italy doesn't understand. They had a few isolated cases. What's that? But you mean Finland has 1 case? UK has 13 isolated cases? Not a big deal. France only has 12. Spain only has 3. And how long did it take for Italy to jump up to 283? How long did it take for China to go from 14 with the mysterious respiratory illness to 80,000? It's been 2 months. So yeah, it can get really, really bad. And while most people will probably be okay, a lot of people won't, and this will negatively impact basically everything. Don't let anyone shame you into not taking care of yourself, your friends, and your family. And I'm going to say it again. I know this is the 4th time I've said it. Italy didn't know. They had a few people, and now it's the worst affected country outside of Asia. These maps I've been looking at, and you've been seeing them along with me. Look how they just keep getting crazier. More signs keep popping up around the world. It seriously looks like a game of Plague Inc. You ever play that game? Pop, pop, pop. The bubbles start emerging saying infected, infected, infected in all these countries. So far, Greenland has not been infected, so they probably won't be. Shares in banks, most of which are located in the financial capital of Milan, which is the heart of the outbreak, were among the hardest hit. Juventus Football Club, which has seen games postponed along with the rest of Serie A amid the outbreak, had to suspend trading in its shares after they fell 11%. If the economy posts another loss in the first quarter of 2020, it could mean the country is in recession. I think the biggest fear we should have is the potential for a run on banks. We're going to have basically a slowdown, a lockdown, because people will freak out. I don't know what to tell you, man. Go to the store. Here's what you do. Go out and get a nice burger with you and your friends, your family, whatever. Have a nice little burger dinner. Go to Chipotle. Get that nice, sweet, juicy burrito. Enjoy it. And then pop over, take a few minutes to go to the store and pick up some essentials. Get things that'll last you some time. Get jerky, salted meats, things you can freeze. In the absolute worst case scenario, food perishes. So consider that too. Get some canned goods that can last for a year or two, things like that. And I'll say it again, and I'll wrap this up. If nothing ends up happening, crack open that can of Chef Boyardee ravioli, which I don't necessarily recommend, and just slop some cheese on it, make it taste better, and there you go. You get to eat your dinner. Crack open that can of baked beans. Hey, we didn't end up needing it. The coronavirus passed, and we're all fine. Yeah, but baked beans tastes great. Bush's baked beans, you get a little bacon, you put it in it. Maybe have it with some tomato slices on a sandwich or next to a sandwich or something. You can have good food that lasts for a long time. I happen to have a bunch of different kinds of jerky. I got venison, I got elk, I got all the good stuff. And for my buddies, I got some vegan jerky. That stuff lasts for a really, really long time. Because you know what? Tastes great. So I'm going to eat it. I bought it before the coronavirus broke out because I happen to like, beef jerky and stuff like that. Or, exotic game jerky. The point is, it's going to get worse. And I'm going to do another video tomorrow because the news will get worse. And this is what I want to wrap up on. This video, I want you to take a look at this. The Iranian deputy health minister trying to explain to people everything's fine, literally breaking out in sweats. Turns out he had the virus. That's how absurd this is. I'll see you all the next segment at 4 p.m. at youtube.com/Timcast. It's a different channel. Thanks for hanging out.